Welcome back, everybody, to Let's Talk About Sleep. We are going to be talking about sleep today, and we're going to be talking about genes and DNA today. Not genes like you wear, but genes like your cells have, which tells the every cell in the body what it should do and not do, and is the basis for everything: our appearance, our personality, how we metabolize food, and our sleep. So I'm going to be kind of reading off some really interesting papers that have kind of come up over the last few years or so. Probably the most interesting one, I think, is looking at those who need less sleep than others. So Thomas Edison, who we all know was a famous inventor, he used to have a very interesting way. He would sleep like an hour at a time or a couple hours at a time throughout the day. Now, if you're an inventor and able to basically make your own schedule, something like that probably could work. But what happens is when you do that in real life, probably one, he was sleep deprived to begin with, but two, the possibility is that you can develop insomnia, right? So if you sleep for hours and hours and hours in the daytime, it's going to be almost impossible for you to sleep at night, and I've made videos on that. But anyway, though, he said sleep was a heritage from our cave days. Mr. Edison, I am a big fan, but I disagree wholeheartedly. University of Pennsylvania, years ago, discovered that the amount of rest that we need, it might be up to 80% genetic, okay? And what was found was they did this study where they looked at 100 pairs of twins. And they found that in a certain gene called BHLHE41, this particular gene in their DNA, okay, and genes are, they're part of our DNA, and that tells the proteins in the body to do this or do that. Okay, so genes, like I said, is genetic genes. That's the root of it. Is the basis for our physical structure. Probably nature versus nurture, but. Anyway, in this gene, what they found was the twins who had the gene versus those who did not were truly the ones who had this variant were truly able to sleep much less than their counterparts who had the normal type. Okay, they had less mental errors during a 38-hour period without sleep. 38 hours without sleep. 38 hours without sleep, they had less errors than their siblings. Okay, very, very interesting. This is 100 pairs of twins. And the whole idea about what does that mean to be a short sleeper, right? So these people truly needed less sleep than their siblings. What does that mean to be truly a short sleeper? Well, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't need that much sleep," or Donald Trump famously said he only gets about 5 hours a night. I've talked about Michael Jordan on this channel. He only sleeps a few hours a night. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, only slept a few hours a night. Obviously, these are very high-functioning people, and it's very possible that genetically they were destined to have this kind of situation. But when somebody truly needs less than 5 or 6 hours of sleep, that doesn't mean they're, jamming 4 to 5 cups of coffee a day. It doesn't mean that they're sleeping 12 hours on the weekends. This truly is what they need, okay? And clearly there's a genetic basis for this, okay? Another study, this was in the ADRB1 gene, okay? The names are not important. Just know that there's genetic basis for things. This was the University of California. They looked at a family member, all of whom slept less than 6 hours a night, and they isolated this gene, this ADRB1 gene. Again, the short sleeping gene, or a variant of this is the short sleeping gene. Another group of researchers at University of Pennsylvania, Alan Pack, who I know is a great guy, he found that same thing, this gene DEC2 gene produce very similar results. Okay, and what these genes do, they think it helps with, or that has a role in glucose metabolism, and basically these genes have a role in shutting off and turning on other genes, so they're kind of like a master gene. So this is a very, very evolving field, and this is probably just the tip of the iceberg as far as what we know. But how interesting is it though that there are some people genetically wired to not need as much sleep as others? I mean, I think that's fascinating, because how great of an advantage would that be if you only had to sleep 2 hours a night and feel great, right? It kind of makes you think why evolution hasn't made this happen, where humans have evolved to only need 2 hours of sleep. But maybe in time that'll happen, but right now it's not. But one last comment I want to make on all this is that, so just like there are genes and DNA that can make us sleep less, when we sleep less and our body needs more, right? So when we're sleep deprived, which is many of us, that actually damages DNA. Okay, and that's where people, over thousands and thousands and millions of replications of the cell, when DNA damage happens, that's where things start going wrong, right? And that's where things like cancer resolve, right? You hear me talk about this on the channel a lot, how poor sleep is a very pro-inflammatory or a very inflammatory situation when we have sleep disruption or sleep deprivation. And one of the reasons it hurts us is because it affects our DNA, right? So that's the topic for today. I didn't mention this is for education only, so it is. But if you found any of this interesting, please leave a comment or a question down below. Once a month, I make 1 or 2 or sometimes 3 videos answering any and all questions. So feel free to reach out. And until next time, everybody, make sure you get your sleep, okay? Unless you're a short sleeper. See you then.